Hey everyone, this is In My Opinion, and today we are going to talk about the parts of Indian history that no one in Congress wants to talk about. These are all interesting parts. Maybe we'll not be able to finish all of them in this one video. We are just going to mention them and maybe a little history around them, and then and see why Congress doesn't like conversation about these things. Let's start with the very establishment. So Congress has always claimed that Congress was the political party which was uh, which fought for the independence. So first, they love talking about this because they seem to have been extant when independence happened, and by the virtue of that, they somehow and they were the largest party. So by that virtue, they probably had some thing to do, or some people in the party had something to do with independence. Of course, not the ones which claim all the credit, but the ones which don't get any at all, like Subhash Chandra Bose ji and Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel ji, and such other fellows. Then we have so establishment. Who established Congress? Congress was established by a person who was a British person named Alan Octavian Hume, A.O. Hume otherwise. And this guy established Congress not to become a representative, a political party to represent Indians, but a political party or simply an organization which would be limited, and it would formally and in sugar-coated words present India's viewpoint in texts and probably influence the mind of Europeans, British people. And that's what the purpose of this organization was, not to provide us independence, but that was the initial phase, the moderate phase. The moderates, of course, were able to achieve almost nothing because they were so, uh, convinced that their soft methods would achieve something. Then we have extremists who come after that, and extremists broke away from the moderates, essentially broke out of Congress itself in the functioning because they wanted Congress to change. And it is then when it became a political party. So these people like Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Bipin Chandra Pal, these people were responsible for the conversion of Congress into an actual independence driver, rather than just a mouthpiece just a fake mouthpiece of Indian people made by the British people to convince themselves that Indians have a view, Indians have some way to express themselves. So they don't like talking about this part of the history because they know that they were established by a British person, and then they go on and claim that RSS is the one which was hand in glove with the British, but I think it was Congress as much. And I have seen a documentary. I don't know how true it is, but maybe it is. I don't know. But the documentary showed that the that the first Prime Minister of India after independence, we all know who that is. It is Chachaji, Nehruji. So this guy swore not on the name of any Indian. He swore on the name of the then British monarch. So his loyalties at the time of independence was still to the British monarch. Now, how can we take this guy as our prime minister? I don't see any reason why we should. And why should we call him our prime minister, first prime minister then, when he actually did not, take the oath in the name of any Indian, maybe an Indian hero. Maybe he could have taken the oath in the name of M.K. Gandhi, if anyone. I mean, at least he was an Indian. How good or bad he was is a different question, but at least Indian. But he didn't. So that's why I don't see why we should have any respect for a fake prime minister who did not deserve to be a prime minister anyway, and he was not voted to be a prime minister by the provinces of the time as well, and he got the prime ministership only by the blessings of M.K. Gandhi, which is another thing that they don't like to talk about. So the next aspect of their existence, which I don't think they love talking about, is the transfer. And I personally think that no one talks about it enough, not from the BJP side as well. What was the competence of this Nehru guy? What was the competence of Jawaharlal Nehru in 1929 that he got the presidency or the presidentship of Indian National Congress. He was he had just one, and so this thing of the dynastic succession that we see today has been happening since the very beginning, because Motilal Nehru was the father of Jawaharlal Nehru. So by that virtue, he got the prime presidentship. Otherwise, there were far more competent people present in Congress at that time. He just got presidentship because because his father was Motilal Nehru. And who was Motilal Nehru? No one likes to talk about Motilal Nehru as well. Motilal Nehru was a zamindar first, and we all know zamindars are people who are sworn to the British people to serve their interests. And so this guy was essentially a British servant. And then this family claims that their history is full of people who served India, when essentially any zamindar, this guy must have exploited Indians to just save his position as zamindar and to fill the British coffers of the time. I think that's that's an interesting bit which no one talks about as well. Then we come to independence. I get confused sometimes why independence happened in a rush. There are a lot of other things, like why Subhash Chandra Bose was thrown out just because he wanted a secondary way of fighting by active fighting, not not non-violent fight. Well, non-violence did not give us independence. Okay, they might make songs about it, but it didn't really. Everyone knows that. No, non-violence has done nothing. I mean, look at Myanmar. Myanmar is a country of Buddhist people. Buddhist people, they are naturally non-violent because of their religious virtues. And see, in that country, when things got out of hand, they had to take up violence to control the Rohingya Muslim community from destroying their culture, destroying their country. And that's exactly why we must all remember that non-violence has done nothing. In Ramayana as well, Ram Bhagwan tried to be non-violent in multiple instances. He tried to be non-violent with Varun when he wanted to cross the sea, and he asked Varun, sea god, for help, but he didn't show up. At last, when he was so agitated, he threatened Varun that he would dry seas that he showed up. So he had to threaten him with violence. Similarly with Ravan. Ravan was given option. Ravan was asked to peacefully return Ma Sita, but he refused and then eventually violence had to happen. Or in Mahabharata, the case of Shishupal and Krishna, Shishupal was given option to be quiet and not disrespect Krishna, but he continued and he had to die. So violence has always been there. The eventual justice is by violence, even though people might be righteous enough to allow people to let non-violence prevail first. But eventually, if non-violence does not solve the problem, which it didn't in 1922, which it didn't in 1931, which it didn't in 1945. So it was violence which happened in 1946. It was violence. And what kind of violence are we talking about? We are talking about naval mutiny, which no one, again, Congress doesn't like talking about this part of history as well. Naval mutiny that happened in Bombay or Mumbai today. So that naval mutiny, and then of course and that naval mutiny basically threatened the British people to their core. They were anyway weak after the Second World War. A lot of reasons. No one wants to give credit to the Second World War as well. For some reason, they don't want to show the British weakness in the process, or they don't want to show British weakness as a cause of India's freedom. They don't want to show British weakness arising out of the Second World War. Why? Because then the importance of the contribution of some people like Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi or some other people like Jawaharlal Nehru would then reduce. The significance of their contribution would seem less than it should seem as. I mean, that's the reason why. In India, there is no one person who contributed enough. At last, there is just a random, and I will also, I think there are a lot of other things. Maybe I'll make another video on other parts of history about what they don't like. Pre-independence was this. I'll do the post-independence bit later. But one more thing. So since we have seen that some people like M.K. Gandhi were not solely or singularly responsible for the independence of this beautiful country that is Bharat, why should we have M.K. Gandhi as the only person on our currency notes? That is a very high level of respect. and I don't think that one person deserves all the space on those notes. I'm not saying that he should be removed. I'm saying that because Indian, and it is legal tender, and anything can be made legal currency. Any person can be shown on those notes. Just as America has different precedents or different precedents in their history on their notes, they have a lot of people. I know that. Why can't we have why can't we have Subhash Chandra Bose? Why can't we have Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel? Why can't we have Bhagat Singh? Or why can't we have Chandrasekhar Azad? Why can't we have so many currency notes? And if not currency notes, then maybe we can have some of their caricatures, something like that, some inscription of some sort on coins. We can have like inlay them on coins or whatever, punch them on coins, something. But we should respect them. We should show them this respect. Why not Veer Savarkarji be on the coins? Just Mahatma. I mean, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi is fine. This fake Mahatma might go ahead and claim all the credit he wants. Some people say that he was 90% responsible or 100% responsible for independence. I mean, in his dreams and in his supporters' dreams or whatever. But obviously, no one person can or could have provided and could have brought independence to such a huge nation. And it's obvious that the true independence. True independence was not because of non-violent means. I mean, what kind of independence would show itself 5 years after a movement? Like, we sometimes think that Quit India movement was that last blow which led to the departure of British people. Well, I ask this question: that Quit India movement happened in 1942, August, and Mahatma Gandhi ji, along with his disciples and his other people, I mean Congress people, were arrested the same month. As much as I'm aware of, and that gave free hand to Muslim League to do its religious extremism in country, and cause things like which happened in Bengal and other places, religious riots. So that happened in 1942, and then why, if this movement was so successful in 1942, we got independence 5 years later? Why not in 1942? My question. And I think in post-independence era, we have one thing that the then British Prime Minister, I actually don't remember his name. I think Clement Attlee, his name was. So Clement Attlee, he was a Labour Party Prime Minister. He came to India in 1960s, and he gave an interview to a Bengali, I think a Bengali journalist, and in that journalist, the journalist tried to elicit his response about the contribution of Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi and the Congress in independence, and the word that was used by Clement Attlee to describe their contribution was minimal, which means that they had hardly any contribution at all in the actual independence. If they did not have any contribution or minimal contribution, then I guess we know who had the contribution. The Indian National Congress had the contribution. The Naval Mutiny had the contribution. The people of India who sacrificed their lives had the contribution. Then why do we have this old, bald man who had some contribution in history, of course, but who was really righteous, maybe, I don't know. But Indian currency notes should have people who truly contributed, and should have pictures or photos of all the people who contributed to the independence. Why should we give such a high place to just one person, in my opinion? So I'm just ending it with this. Share your views about this with me